Great and beautiful morning and evening to you all, wherever you are joining me at this moment. Welcome to 554 edition of Invest Data Trading Academy Live with Ambrose. Yes, I'll tell you that today is the last trading day of the week. But I'll tell you that most of the matured market stocks are looking in the south direction. No sentiment have already changed the market as a result of what just a report about some regional banks in US after we have seen impressive number from the big banks in that domain. Now that news of regional banks are a bit exposed to risk that have trickled down not only in the US where it has mentioned to Asia, to Europe and all. That tells you that you can see the importance of you looking at your charts, looking at the market sentiment, a day news can change, even perception can change, the trend of the market. And this the market has also remained up even when there's shutdown, in US government, delay in data, but still market remained up. But just yesterday, because of the report that most of the regional banks, are having exposure in terms of bad loans, and that also have triggered the sentiment that we're seeing sell off in some of these regional banks. Why the big banks there? I mentioned their name yesterday. J. Morgan, and others who saw the result was impressive. That have given given a kind of sentiment on Monday. But yesterday, Thursday, you saw how the trend changed in the market. That is why you must also know when to take action. And for those that are in this market, you're also watching to see what the trend will go, between now and where the trend will go between now and end of the trading session for today, being the last trading day of the week. But let's start from what is happening in Asia market. Asia market, as we speak, is also looking southward as a result of what the losses that happened on the Wall Street yesterday. That trend has been extended into today's trading in Asia market. That also way more of what on the Chinese or China stock market because of what the fear also or the kind of escalating tariff worries or fear between Trump, or can say between Washington and what and Beijing, because these are the things, Beijing, sorry, these are the things that also is influencing the market here in Asia market. But quickly, let's see that today Friday we see a sharp drop, in the Asia market, tracking the overnight losses, which I've said earlier, mentioned, on Wall Street because of the new fear for over the, U.S. Regional banks rattled that rattled investors, confidence yesterday. And not only that, like I mentioned earlier, China shares we are seeing them. These ones are leading a decline because of what the escalating trade tension, with Washington, as I've mentioned earlier. But most, regional stocks index for this region are heading for what a weekly loss, because this weekly decline is going to reflect on what on the end of the week, and just due to Trump, fresh tariff announcement against China. That has weighed down on what on the sentiment in that market. Like I've said earlier, the bank that we mentioned yesterday, Thursday, in the US are Zion, Bacon, and also Western aligned banks. These are the ones I say they disclosed they disclosed troubled loans in that bank. That sparked kind of investors' concern and fear and the quality of this regional banking lending at that time. The quality of them having huge losses, and this is why we are seeing that affecting not only sentiment in Asia, like I've said, even in US and also in other parts like Europe also is having a share of it. But I believe that let's wait and see. As more earnings are coming from other sector, if it will offset this kind of sharp pullback sort of what the negative sentiment for the banking sector in in the US market. But as to speak now, even Japan, I think that Japan stocks today also have lost 1.3% down in the south. This sharp drop after having sharp gains in almost 2 weeks or 2 sections. We have seen it that the market has been about with the sharp loss. The market also set to have a weekly loss of about 1% at the end of the day. But let's keep our eyes and see where it goes from here. We are seeing that it's just not only one place. This is a kind of triple effect. That's why I say when US crash cold or sneeze, every other market cash cold. You can see that Singapore was seen that the Singapore index is down by 0.5, tracking also almost a 2 weeks over 2 weeks the weekly loss also we are seeing. Let's see how far it's going to go at the end of the day. While Australia market also is down by 0.8%, hitting after hitting a record high of after hitting a record high of 9,109,000.7 point index in the previous session. You can see what news can just change sentiment when a weaker job report boosted the expectation of further policy in terms of easing or rate cut forward by the Reserve Bank of Australia. But these are what we are saying now. And also, if you look at India, India is largely flat as to speak now. The market at this hour. Then at all eyes also looking at more earnings coming to that market as to speak. I believe that this was going to show more kind of resident resilient decline, but we see that now the market is flat. Even others are being dragged down by the major IT firms in that market. But I believe that for India market be flat now, and we're also after we expect to see more numbers which will shape the market where to go from here. But don't forget that I mentioned that China share for the most in the region after or let's say coupled with the trade tension between Beijing and Washington, as mentioned, and that remain heightened. Last, the last week also we saw Trump also threatening to impose additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports starting November 1st in response to Beijing expanded in the export. These are the things that also shaping the market. But I believe that in this, South Korea shares hit a record high on even on US trade deal hope. You can see in that market we are also a kind of a demand for this market that is in that region. And see how it is. At times, also poor times, almost are laughing. This is what we see here. The market is up sharply. For me, it's a record high they are seeing rising by almost a 1.2, getting to a fresh high of 3,794.87 basis points. Early this section, however, the index later gave us some gain as well. They brought the caution way on it, but good news that it has opened sharply. But I believe that South Korea also presidential policy advisor also on Thursday and what about optimism that talks to finish the war the trade agreement with the US. Also, these are the things that also they also already trying to like fill up also draw a line with US on their work on their trade deal. These are the things happening in Australia. Quick one course of our time. Let's look at what is happening also in Europe. Like I said earlier, that most of the matured market was also looking well. That's the European stocks or market are also looking down on banking consign, and also even today that eurozone consumer price index data will be due or report will be due today. But to speak, we see also stock falling sharply today. In Asia, sorry, in Europe, stock market, tracking the overnight loss, also on Wall Street following the concern over the head of U.S. regional banks ahead of the release of key inflation data in that zone today. But to speak, I tell that major indexes like dance, like DAS index in Germany is down by 2%. 2% can see followed by that of CAC 40 in France, also down by 1.1%, and that of the UK market, which is FTSE 100 is also down by 1.5%, and this has a lot of work tracking the US index that closed lower on Wednesday and also on Thursday, whereby what the decline in the bank stocks. Later in the section yesterday, that as I said, also backing up. Even that is what we are seeing today. But with our eyes focusing on the banking sector, because European banking industry also as to speak is spotlighting what as report of banks in US, regional banks in US I mentioned earlier, Zion, Backup, and also Jefferson Finance Group and Western Alliance Backup. These are the banks that were a series of bad loans have been reviewed on Thursday and also raising fine over the rising credit risk in that sector. This has weighed on also on other economies. But all eyes, like I said, are still on the eurozone, for this consumer price index today, and that will also review the state of that that region in terms of their inflation figure as to all eyes on it. But expect to confirm whether it's also going the way of ECB, with the European Central Bank also target of 2%. Let's see how far the figure will look like, and that also determine whether ECB has another opportunity to cut rate again before the year runs out. Let's see if they are going to do another cut. Don't forget that they started their rate cut even since June. Rather, they've been doing that more than but for me. Let's see how it goes on this front. And don't forget that the French political instability is also there in that region, weighing on confidence. Also, for let's wait and see if Thursday we're seeing some people surviving two no vote of confidence, another reducing the likelihood of early election and all those stuff. Don't forget that politics is part of the economy. When the politics is having issue, the economy is also sick, and that's why in the economy want to put their political angle or political area in order to drive what economy. You can't separate economy from politics in anywhere as is. Also, we're seeing persons seeing a third quarter sales growth, with the days of corporate earning and also hit in that market. We're seeing corporate news from there. Reported the third quarter sale of about 4%, growing, taking a growth from the first 9 months of the year to 2%. Yes, this educational company also flag up a stronger growth ahead of fourth quarter results, citing favorable unit dynamics and continue traction in digital offering. You can see they will say how far it goes about the result. More eyes are seeing results. More like already we are seeing more results coming here in Eurozone. And more of them third quarter and some of them beat market expectation, which also why some also go the other way and market also treat you the way your figure is. Also was saying that crude oil also dip again on Ukraine and Ukraine peace talk. So let's say I go Friday after President Trump and Russia, Putin agreed to meet and discuss ending the war again. I was in front and back between Putin and and Trump on this war. Well, let's say I go to speak now. Oil price was around 60.60 dollar per barrel. As we speak, good one. I told the guy on last Monday that the more we see oil price going down, that's why we are not surprised seeing first saying that they're likely to rate to continue because of what they have seen signal that yes, if oil price is relatively low, that will also support low prices at the end of the day. Finally, look at what is happening in US. Yes, where we see that US when it leads other economic market, coal, can see that all indices there in the US market are looking southward seriously as we speak right away. And also the worries over the weaker America regional lenders also combined with ongoing fear over trade tension has weighed more on what on US market as we speak. Even as the Oracle also provide a long-term financial guide powered by foreign artificial intelligence drive demand. While that of Roland also quarterly result also slump, can see these are the things that also driving this red we're seeing in US market. As we speak, like I said earlier, all the futures are down. And see that Dow Jones is down by 1.2%, S&P is also down by 1.5%, and Nasdaq is also down by 1.1%. And these are all the main averages of the market are extending a slump or kind of a decline with a negative credit update from the regional banks, adding more of fueling the growing concern around the fallout of this collapse, and that also at the same time is a win on what investors are sentiment in that area. Not only that, we have seen serious banks, like I mentioned, three banks that were involved in the US, and analysts are also there in that environment. So that's that this concern is a potential, kind of a potential systematic problem, and that's also why we are seeing that the banks are looking, investors are looking somehow because of this banks. This is why we are seeing in that region in US as we speak right now. Yes, don't forget that the I mentioned about the figures also that is in that region, but gold have extended it's uproar. Gold is also trading around 4,400 per unit as we speak now. The up market is very good. The great expectation this state level, don't forget that this because of this renewed US China trade for trade tension and driven investors towards the state level assets. That's why you are seeing gold going up, even when commodity markets also oscillating, looking at start as well. Actually, beyond the Fed rate expectation, gold was also expected also to to rebound. Now, let's see how it goes at the end of the next meeting, in that policy meeting in the US. So we'll see where we are going to see, rate cut again and more inflow. This was also going to broaden the the state urban rally as was saying, as supported by the new tension between US and between US and China. So these are the things. And don't forget as well as the prolonged US government shutdown. All these are the things going on in the market. But if you look at African market are not looking bad as we speak right now. I would say that take example of what is happening in Nigeria market. We are seeing a strong 2 days now, even today again, now we make it 30. We are seeing extension of up rally after the market has formed earlier, in fact, head and shoulder. But now we're seeing the high cap stocks on Nigeria market are supporting the market to look up as to speak now. The market has crossed another mark again, crossing 149,000. As to speak, this is good news for the market. And if you look at this, come and look at what is happening here. You can see this index now, where it is now, what the market is feeding. As the market is already around the, as to speak now, market is being 149,001.02, up by 245.98 basic point, representing 0.44% right now. Market has had a range of 448,000, 355.05 to 149,027.22 is the market rate now. But looking at the market rate is strongly positive. We're seeing more buyers in the market right now, about 26 advancer against 7 decliner. And you can see most of us, the blue chip company and high cap stocks are among these 36 that have added momentum to the market this morning. And actually, we are seeing that market is looking as usual for almost the past 12 days, apart from kind of start trending or kind of relax, slow down, to breathe out here before the trend continues. And I tell you, the more the market draw closer to see the inflows of any season after the utility sector have kicked off the earning season with missed number, saw a present number from Transcorp Hotel and that of Gregu. Yes, we have seen another result. That's why our talking number today is on what on Royal Exchange and Legend Internet, and also looking at the inflation figure that were released, or we call it the consumer price index that was released within the week. That also give investor combining this number we are seeing ahead of what the Q3 earning season where we're going to see influx of number between now and the end of the month of October. And at the same time, we're heading also looking forward to see another NPC meeting coming in November. And also seeing that yes, inflation will have started looking down, extending almost for 36 straight months down, but we're seeing a reversal in a major influence of price in Nigeria. When I say price are coming down, to look at the figures that came from Bureau of Statistics, look at the year-on-year inflation is down from 20.12, in August to 18.02, which is good. But now go back to look at the food inflation. Don't forget that food inflation is also another major, but because also we are in harvest season, September, you should know, and that we are seeing a kind of a good major decline in terms of food inflation from 87% in August to 16.87. This is huge, but with this rebound was in kind of not rebound, and it was in hike again in petroleum product, especially the PMI, the PMS, which is the fuel that is the major commodity that major vehicle Nigeria use. That also going to impact more on transportation. That will likely also push price of commodity in the market ahead of festive season again in Nigeria. These are things we are complaining. Let's watch what the policy managers and the regulators in the industry already were seeing that most economy price of fuel are coming down. While in Nigeria, where we produce crude oil are going up. As we speak now, I said earlier in this class that crude oil price international market is about 60.60 per barrel. Yes, for Nigeria, for us to make money, it's time for us to increase our output. Yes, we are hit or surpass OPEC quota 2 or 3 times, but as at last month, we are seeing that they have gone under again. We need to produce more, especially when you are seeing low prices in the commodity you are selling. The more quantity you have, the more you can also beat out again. But if we are having a decline in our production in Nigeria and oil prices are low, it's going to affect us. That's why we need to look at all this. That's why the economic managers and the presidential team they also look at it and see how to report. People at the core inflation. Core inflation also dropped from what from 20.33% in August to 19.23 in September. Yes, these are good news that we are seeing, but I can tell you that yes, we are likely to see an ugly rebound in this the month of October with what the increase. But if because of the festive period, the price did not jump in that direction, but cost of transportation will likely will be factored into price of goods. We're going to see prices also going up ahead of festivity. Don't forget that from November, we see that market will change because of price, and I think this is the wrong timing. Or if all this year from all this month, sorry, we have seen oil price stabilizing, fuel price between 800 and 900. Now it has crossed 900 to almost getting to 920. So consider 950, 915, 922. You can see, but if you can go back to every forecast earlier was that we want to see around 700 before the year end or early 2026 around 500 or 600, but now it has gone back to 900. But I believe that yes, it's part of things are going to change dynamics. But all eyes are still on what the NPC will be doing with all this. Well, good news that September also extended a decline. For me, it's also want to also pay attention to. We quickly look at the result, the figures that we're going to discuss today is very, very important to look at these figures because we are seeing the first insurance figure for third quarter 2025, and this number is not looking bad at all. And it is a sign that yes, we want to see a better things coming from this sector, especially with the recapitalization ongoing now because all the insurance companies have between now and August 2026 to recapitalize. If you come from this figure now, let's go back to the profit and loss account for the quarter ended September 30, 2025. If we look at the results here, look at the net income. You can see the component of the net income above, talking about the interest income, talking about fees and commission, all of them, interest expenses. At the end, you can see the net interest income from this one. You can see that, against 2024, you can see that a leap year. Also, you can see also other investment that you can see that also share of profit on investment. Actually, you can see also moving from about 900 and something million to a billion, 1.6 billion. These are part of it. But at the end of the look at the net income. Net income we are having about 1.8 billion against the 196.9 million. That was a good one. At the end of the day, we are interested to see what the profit for the period is. Look at here, you can say profit profit after tax from continuing operation moved from 781.2 million to almost 1.5 billion. You can see the rate now. Even when you check this movement here, this price here, you can see that this is a share of profit. And that means we are seeing less FX gain in both this result and also this shows that yes, the core business of premium and all that also is part of it. But you see profit from what from investment and associates. You can see these are the things that also have impacted the price, the performance, sorry, the bottom line of this company, the Royal Exchange for the 9 months result. And at the end of the day, you can see that the earning per share also moved from the 30 kobo to almost 36 kobo. Looking at the movement here from here, the number of shares that did not change. That means this figure, I will tell you that here should be more than this. Looking at the number in issue, consider. But let's look at the company, balance sheet, because it's very, very important before we go towards the cash flow. If you look at the company balance sheet from here, let's say here, yes, you see the assets for this company. There's growth in assets. If you look at the audited account, as stated here to here, that is good one. Once we look at the liability, then the most important thing to look at what because the difference between the liability and the and the total asset is what we call a net asset, which is also part of what also we can call it a the equity shareholders fund, or whatever you want to call it. But if you look at the equity angle, if you look at the total equity also moved from 5 point something billion towards 7.6 billion at this point. But we want to pay look at the share in issue, and the share in issue share capital is also most constant. But we want to pay attention to look at the retained earning was almost about 1 point something billion negative, but it has turned positive for this company, which also a plus for them. And don't forget that industry is about capitalizing now. They are already it's ongoing. You need to make yourself good. Also for you to look good, even but on the base of this, will the company also be able to meet capitalization or is going to stand alone? Also, we'll be discussing that one more on our meeting tomorrow. On the in the afternoon like this also tomorrow at the Q&A section, we'll be discussing that. So if you look at the cash flow of this company, let's look at the cash flow from operation. Cash from operation is a negative. You can see from 1 billion to 1.2 billion to almost 700 and something negative decline for this period. For negative, as we speak, I tell you that for the even with the nature of the business of the company, we expect to see negative operating cash flow. No, but it also send a signal also to what to see what their full year audited will also look like. But for me, we have to pay attention to most of the financial figure that is coming. We are seeing how impressive this figure is now for insurance company. We want to for this real exchange. What of others in the industry? What are we expecting from them? That's why you must pay attention to these figures now because I see potential in this insurance company. For you to take advantage of it, you need to also position now before they start rolling in their number forward for Q today. Once these numbers start coming, market react. This how impressive it is. And also, the more they also start bringing that information about the capitalization move, that will also further give insight what you expect from this insurance company. That means you need to pay attention to the insurance company at this hour. Looking at the figure that is coming from there, that will help you to take investment decision. Pay attention to these figures that are emanating from this insurance company now, and take the right decision to buy into value. But that is the only way you can also make money in this market. Once you're able to do that, you're also on the right path. That yes, you are in the right position as a trader or investor in the market. Already understand how these numbers have influence what on this company's performance. For me, seeing a top line of almost about 100 and 137% and also 90% for real estate is big volume. At the end of the day, we are seeing any pressure of 36 as I've said earlier, good one for the company, but you have to also make sure that see that this company also sustain this momentum in their full year, and that was also the year process also within the time space for the allow for them to capitalize. Pay attention to most of this. These kind of numbers are likely to be come out from other insurance. That's why I need to position in the insurance company now. Just quickly, because of our time, let's look at the next one I mentioned in this the introduction of this class is the Legend Internet PSC. This is a newly listed company. Good news I'll tell you that this is a good way of doing corporate governance if it is sustained because there is no track record now to know because they are just becoming a quoted company newly. For good one that their account financial year ended in July, we are seeing the release results on time, even when the numbers are mixed or not didn't meet our own criteria and investigator, but it's a good start for this company. If this momentum is sustained, we're going to see better numbers going to the future. At the end of the day, I think they are rewarding investors with a 60 kobo for their financial year ended audited account for July 31st, 2025. For me, it's also a good one. If you look at let's start from the profit and loss account, cost of our time. If you look at this figure, consider it moved from about 1.14 billion to 1.2 1.34 to 1. Let's say 1.2 billion. Also, it was like about 4% to 5% growth, which is also well for me it's weak. But I told you earlier that those that are following me in the last class where we went through about looking at criteria for that company to say this company is doing well, it must be above 40% because of inflation. Yes, inflation has dropped to around 80, so that was around but to say company doing well, it must have 2 times 2 of inflation figure of this explanation, we're going to see that companies are standing performance. Yes, it's still below it. But if you also look at the bottom line, also at the end of the day, the revenue I've seen it. No, I think that investors pay more attention to the profit after tax. We have seen interest income, and also cost of finance has also increased here. But at the end of the day, you can see that the profit was also marginal here below 20%, around that 20%, which is also revolving around the inflation figure. Latest one for me is still not too okay, but if a new company is becoming consistent and result on time, that is another good thing there. For me, at the end of the day, able to give you, the dividend, of full year dividend of 60 kobo. It's a good start for me. So go for development. So let's also look at the cash flow, operating cash flow for this company. Pay attention to it. Operating cash flow also declined from what they had in 2024 to this. It's also a sign that you should watch. It's not a negative, but when you decline cash flow, it tells you that how activities is going there. That means subsequent result need to pay attention to see especially the Q1. This is a full year result audited account. We have seen operating cash flow decline from almost from 700 and something million to 18 million for me. We have also to pay attention to that. We also quickly look at the the balance sheet. Balance sheet, I think, is ahead of us here. I know the balance sheet here is not too bad. You can see that the earning move from around let's start from net assets. Net assets is up now marginally, as you can see from 3 point from 3.02 billion to around 3.2 billion. For me, it's okay. The difference between the liability, the assets, and the total liability, then you can also difference will give you, like I said, net assets, which is equivalent to your shareholders fund. You can even look at it here. You can see the retained earning moving from 558 million to about 700.8 something, 78 million, which is also not a totally bad one. But let's wait and see. But the share issue remained 2 billion share issue, and that you can see in that place. But for me, that also trade caution as we look at all these numbers. But quickly go to the chart to conclude the class for today. You can see that yes, our market is still extending as we are entering the week that also ushering more results. Yes, consider the high cap stocks are the one leading in the market now. If you check the top gainers, as we speak now, consider that our top gainers are also companies that are also not doing badly, but as we speak now, we are seeing that Israel is the one leading in terms of capital gain now in the market. But we are seeing others in that category. We are seeing others following. But let's look at it. You can see Sovereign Trust, you can see RH Bisco, Universal Insurance. NACO has gone back to surpass this 117. They thought last time for Billy Brand, around the 115 right now, 25 naira. It's a good one. We are seeing Bokuwa Food also up by 20 naira. That's these are the things part of the market. Sugar is up by 1 naira, 1 naira, 65 kobo. These are the ones, Vitafoam, all these are prestige assurance, PZ back to 40 naira. No, we're seeing that we're seeing back in most of these consumer goods are also part of what's part in the market as we speak now. Good news, but at this point, I will say thank you for your time. See you hopefully by God's grace on Monday. I will say bye.